I think everybody is here to see you. So let's talk a little bit about the fact that Hurricane Helene hit your hometown. First of all, thank you for being here and sharing your experiences. One thing that in our prep call, it really stood out to me was the example that you shared talking about how things will never be the same again. You'd seen your childhood ball field. That must be tough to see, first of all. And I'm wondering if you can kind of take us through some of the, can you set the stage for us? Can you describe the area? Where are we talking about? And then would you consider this to be a typical hurricane area?
Right. So thanks, Kurt. Yeah. So as far as explaining kind of what happened, we're located in the mountains of Western North Carolina. So, you're ranging. Asheville is about 25,000 feet above sea level. Burnsville, which is my hometown, is about 2,800 feet above sea level. So when you think of typical hurricane areas, that doesn't fit.
Nope.
So it's a so that was definitely a challenge. So waking up, and kind of seeing the forecast, and some of the videos that were coming in was just astonishing. You look at the area got about 30 inches of rain, and then waking up on that Friday, and as the day went on, and losing all power, losing all communications, and it was a crazy, crazy time. So considering the topography of the mountains, and for something like this to happen, it was unreal. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I actually have some photos. Do you want me to share them now or would you like to talk about them later?
sure, go ahead.
Okay, cool. I'll share my screen here. I think what we're really looking for is just a kind of overview of what we have. What are we talking about here?
Right, right. Yeah. So, it was, this won't be the first, and definitely what wasn't the first, won't be the last. But, the unique situation that we ran into is a lot of our infrastructure, locally was just completely gone. What you're looking at on the screen is just areas and communities that were completely just cut off from all other society. So, you look at main roads, a lot of the roads were gone, things like that. So kind of what you're seeing on the screen is us trying to get to different areas, trying to help out. Our truck driver actually, was trying to make a delivery that Friday morning, trying to get back to the hub, and as you can see, got caught up in a landslide. So it was, thankful for him, thankful for the family that took him in. Was just an incredible story. So, on the right picture right there, you can see, that was us. That used to be a road, kind of to your right there. So it's we did our best to be able to make deliveries to just the community and the people in need. So it was a unique situation. Looking at, again, you got a picture of the truck. There.
This is the same
Uh,
one that got stuck?
yes, same one that got stuck. Yep, yep.
So this is the
And
one where a family took him in. He was traveling and then a family just took him in.
correct, correct. Yeah,
Unbelievable.
yeah, just an amazing thing, and it's kind of, it speaks to the heart of the mountains and the heart of the people
Right.
here,
Yep.
and that's what I'm very proud to grow up and to be here. Is just like, hey, it's help your neighbor, and that was never more evident going through that situation. So. Yeah, and so kind of here it's, and I want to take a minute to really shine a light on my team, on the community. We had no cell phones, we had no power in certain areas, so we had to try to figure out ways to get around that, to be able to communicate. The picture on your left, we were able to set up base. We got power in at our NCARD location, which is in Arden, North Carolina. We were kind of created that as a distribution hub. Had many employees working, tirelessly trying to figure out how to get supplies to the community, to our customers and whatnot. So the picture on your right, as you can see, there's some barrels in the back of that truck. We were delivering fuel barrels to a community that was cut off from everything. So that truck was able to get places, we were surprised it could get to. As you can see behind it, it was only reachable through side by side or whatever
Right.
that may be. So, but those barrels were fuel lines to be able to get fuel for generators, vehicles, whatever was up there. So it was kind of a cool thing to be a part of. Yeah, so kind of continued on these. As you can see, we delivered generators, propane. We had no. There was certain areas that didn't have electricity for a couple weeks, so they were no. Luckily, it wasn't dead in the winter. It happened in October. The temperatures were mild, but it's still, people needed to have these propane, had water, just basic needs. So, really, you know. Again, just kind of shining light on my team, shining light on Kevin and his team. We really tried to band together to try to get these supplies in. I drove 45 minutes to an hour every day just to have enough cell phone signal to be able to connect with Kevin and his team. Just trying to figure out how to get supplies to our area. So again, it kind of turned into a ritual of, hey, we got a call at 10 o'clock. Let's drive an hour, get up on a hill where we can have have some service to be able to get to get supplies to be able to get them to people in need. But the response was incredible, from customers to different people in the company sending supplies our way. Again, it was a tragic, unimaginable situation that turned into purpose, and that purpose was being able to help each other in the community.
I feel like the picture of the diapers, I have to say something. I started years ago with Fastenal, and one of my very first assignments was working with Kevin's team to talk about some of the things that we do in disaster response. One of the things that just shocked me was that people need diapers. Like, you don't think about it, but how are you going to take care of this little toddler? Well, there are ways to get diapers out there, and we're happy to help with that too. I'm going to
Yeah.
stop sharing here, and I think we were at the end of the pictures. So, unless there's anything else you wanted to say about the pictures.
No, as you can see in the pictures, I mean, it's not about showing you the damage. What I want people to take from it is like, hey, we were able to come together, we were able to help the community, we were able to help each other, and that's the biggest sense of pride out of all of this was, you know, as you can see, diapers. Babies are one of the more precious things on this earth, and whether it was diapers, formula, things like that. You don't think of Fastenal, but we were able to make a way through donations. So that was a very cool thing that Kevin and all his team did for us. So.
All of it is just unreal. You're facing all of that, and then, like so many other people, you still have a job to do. So it's post disaster, let's say,
Yeah.
and you must have a to-do list that's just a mile long. Where does a person start?
Yeah, so it was like I said, we didn't have power. We didn't have all the cell phone towers were out. We had a good 12, 16 hours where it was just complete, blackout. So you start thinking about your family, your loved ones. You start thinking about your employees. So that next day, it was trying to get back to family. Couldn't get to my parents for 24 hours due to landslides, and but luckily through some people that had hiked through some of the damage was telling me that they were okay. Really turned into just accounting for my employees. It took us about a week and a half to account for all of our employees on my team, which was concerning for for someone in my position. That's just due to there was no cell phone service. We
Yep,
have these
yep.
devices in our hands where we can reach each other instantly, and
We're
when
so
that's
used to it.
gone, yeah, when that's gone, because no power, no actual phone lines, available, it was a challenge. So, my first employee, I found, I flagged him down on the side of the road, and we met up, and so it was just you know, writing notes on our local Fastenal store saying, "Hey, meet here tomorrow at 8:30. We'll try to work together." So again, it kind of turned back the clock, and a lot of respect for people before us. But again, it kind of shifted from people to trying to figure out how we can help the communities, which our customers are our community. So it was doing everything we can to help that.
Yeah, you're painting a picture in which you run into a human being that it just normally you just pass them on the street and say, "Hey, how you doing?" or whatever.
Right.
And it's like almost a celebration, like, "Hey, okay, it's amazing to see you." And
Right.
that could be a coworker or just a community member, but the whole way through. Yeah, okay,
Right.
goosebumps. Anyways, basically to me, Luke, it feels like you're painting a picture where to me, it's hard to imagine working, but you're still finding ways to get things done. And you're talking about how you're working with Kevin. So, Kevin, let's switch to you for a second here. To me, this just proves why preparation can't take a back seat to
Yeah.
response. So, you've helped Fastenal teams move supplies around the country for multiple types of disasters. So, is it fair to say that preparation is just so important?
Yeah, it's definitely the most important word in all of this. Disaster prep is a big part of it. So really, what we do as an organization, we've got a group. It's called the Blue Team Responds. Great people from all different departments within Fastenal. So what we're trying to do for Luke and for anybody that's going through this, anywhere in the country, what we're trying to do is serve as like a quarterback to the local teams, right? Because they're dealing what Luke just went over, right? They're dealing with so many different things, and that can be from a very small natural disaster to an extremely large one like Helene. So we grab different groups, and what we're trying to do is grab experts from all these different groups, whether that's supply chain, our sourcing teams, sales development, our distribution centers, right? Like logistics, transportation, project management, really everybody gets involved. And we try to find experts within the organization so that we can support our local teams. Preparation doesn't limit the scrambling, right? Because there's always still going to be a lot of
Right.
scrambling. But it does help eliminate some of it. And so like let's just take a hurricane, for example, since that's kind of what we're
What we're
we're
talking
all
about, yeah.
preparing for now. All right. Yeah, we're getting into that season. Our prep starts in early summer. So we're sitting down, we're talking to the supply chain teams, we're looking at our list of products that we would typically distribute during like a hurricane or any type of disaster. You just saw a lot of those products in the pictures that you put up, generators being a big one. Water is another one, bottled water, gas cans, sandbags, you name it. So we start looking at all of these different SKUs that we sell, all these different part numbers that we sell or that customers are in need of during this time. And we look for gaps in our inventory. So basically, one of the things that our Blue Team Response has been given from our company leadership is a green light, right? Like we get to make the decisions during this period of time and in the preparation so that we don't have to be asking a million different people a million different questions. We're making these decisions to keep this product in stock. Um, then we stage this product, right? Like we've got to get it in, we've got to stage it. If again, talking about hurricanes, that's primarily going to be on the East Coast, but not always. And then we're making sure that we're communicating, what we did, right? The product that's in place. But the key to preparation is making sure you have the right teams established, right? That is the key. We go back and forth about what we could have done better for sure. And I'm sure we'll talk about some of that, but getting those right teams established is so critical early on. Um, and again, from a support standpoint, our job in all of this is to help the field respond to their customers. So anything we can do to help. And then, Curt, can I add one more quick thing
Yeah.
too? Is that
Yep.
like I said, preparation. I think someone said you can. Everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face. Yeah.
Yep.
And that's true, right? I mean, it is true. So as cliche as it sounds, you do have to plan for things to go wrong. Um, and that goes into recruiting more people in the organization that you can delegate things to, right? So it's just and that's why we go to the experts in these departments is that we don't have this like jack of all trades. We go if we need to move trucks from one end of the country to the other, we're going to our VP of transportation. We're saying, make this happen. And those are the things that really, really get things done. And you have to start prepping for that early on in the process.
You mentioned the experts again. I feel like the thing that we, as a general population, we don't think of there being experts in moving trucks from one side of the country to the other because we don't care. But if you're on this call, you probably do care. And it might have occurred to you that this is a thing that actually does matter. I feel like the thing I mean, it may be a humble brag, if you will, but Fastenal has a lot of experts when it comes to moving things from one place to another. And when you're talking about response and to an extent preparation, Kevin, you can tell me if I'm wrong, that's what it's all about. Moving things, getting stuff into position or getting stuff close to where it needs to be at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
anything else on that, gentlemen, or?
No, absolutely. You're absolutely right.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, the role that our team members played, and I'm just telling you from being ground zero, being able to reach out to Kevin, being able to reach out to Bobby Petrella, be able to reach out to Danae. I'm not sure if she's on this call. Multiple people. Like Kevin said, it's that delegation and being able to call on others. That's the culture that I was very proud of. Is like, hey, we're here to help. So.
Yep.
Yeah, you mentioned being on the ground. I mean, you've seen a disaster response program up close, Luke. So you must have a take on the role of prepping. And then when it's too late for prepping, it just boils down to it becoming a team effort.
Right.
These are the types of responses that are happening on a scale. And at that scale, it just takes a team to make it happen. So to recap my long-winded non-question here, how important is preparation? And maybe the more important aspect of it, do you have any examples of team wins? I know you do, but like, what do you want to highlight?
Right. Yeah, and you're exactly right. That preparation, just kind of, like I said, starting out, mentioning, this is something that we never anticipated going through. So we didn't have that time to prep. We had no
Right.
idea. So obviously my perspectives changed immensely. When you look at, the things that you can do as far as that prep goes, if you would have told me that this would happen here, I would say never in 100 years. But guess what? We
Right.
had a once in 100 year flood here. So so that prep is so important. There was an old saying that I was always taught growing up: you'd rather have it and not need it, than need it and not have it. So you kind of start looking at what can we do to those main essentials to take care of yourself, your people around you, and then build that process out. So that's what we've done locally. That's what we've worked with some of our customers, is to realize like, hey, this may never happen, but if it does, how can we be organized? And I think the lesson I took out of it is like, if something comes up, that organization and kind of what step 1, 2, 3 is very important.
So I have some videos that I think we want to share now that highlight, to me, these are the ones that highlight your team. So let me see if I can bring up the first one here. And I'm going to try to make sure that I share this without volume, because I will admit that some of the people are speaking what I will call French. But if you hear any of the audio coming through, everybody, I apologize. Which one are we looking at? The one on the left first? What do we got over here?
Yeah, so looking on the left, that was the road going to one of our customers. In that particular area, the river got up about 25 feet higher than standard levels. So we were actually, driving on areas that were very compromised, but getting water to a community that needed it through our customer.
That's crazy. And you were mentioning this before, once in 100 year flood. When I think of hurricane damage, I often think of the winds or the rain. I don't
Yeah.
remember to think about the flooding. This is an example of how an area can be, I don't know what you want to call it, inundated with water in such a incapacitating way.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
second one
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, and so kind of going on that, Kurt, it's like, you think about the mountains of Western North Carolina, the mountain ranges. As you can see, the topography, kind of funnels down to these rivers. So the water, unlike the coast or anywhere else, the water can only go one way, and
Doesn't have
that's
anywhere to
up.
go.
Yeah, yeah, it doesn't have anywhere to go. So that's what made this such a challenging, scary thing. I mean, you got 30 inches of rain in 24 hours. It's an unimaginable situation. So that video there kind of shows this Hurricane Helene for the western part of North Carolina turned into a geological event. As you can see, there's landslides, there's flooding, and we had mini tornadoes. You can't see it, but you would look at certain ridge lines where trees were just completely gone. So we kind of had the trifecta of different things that we don't typically deal with in our area. But just the sheer amount of water and the volume that came from that it was just incredible.
And then this last one.
Yeah, this last one was actually right in Asheville. It was right beside the Interstate 26. We actually used to have a location right there. That we moved just due to the state, widening the road. So luckily we were able to get out before that happened. But that's it's just, if you drove by there today, you would never imagine water would be right there.
And this was where you were prior to the hurricane?
6 months before. So the state of North Carolina purchased that building, and so we had just moved out about 6 to 12 months before that. So
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. Again, I think that's the end of all the things that you've brought to for show and tell. Thank you. I think we all appreciate you sharing your story. Let me see if I can close that out. Okay, all gone. So we've kind of talked about the prep work. There's a lot of prep that you should make part of your process before any disaster even happens. We've touched on how any response needs to be a team effort. Now let's shift to details. Kevin, I feel like this is a perfect place for you to talk a little bit about everybody's favorite topics, logistics and product movement.
Yeah.
Basically, can you help explain how and when Fastenal is managing the logistics of moving products to disaster affected areas?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Fastenal's a little unique here, right? We do own our own trucking system. We also have the best drivers in not just our industry, I would say in any industry, that have that servant's heart mentality, right? It's that they're going to go above and beyond it really every day, but in situations like this, they go above and beyond to make sure that our customers and our branches are getting products that they need. But Curt, to your point on logistics and moving product, it can be challenging, right? For sure. That's why a lot of that preparation has to happen. But what we would typically do, again, if we stay, I know this is disaster prep and recovery, but if we stay on that hurricane theme, what we're going to do, because a hurricane, you do have a little bit of warning. I know, Luke, you just described everything. That was a crazy event. But if you take a hurricane that's kind of coming up the East Coast, it's forming, you can see that. So what our team does, our Blue Team Responds, what we do is we have a meeting, all right? We'll say, all right, well, what's happening? Sometimes that meeting is just, hitting each other through a chat. And sometimes it's, there is a category 3, 4, 5 hurricane coming up the East Coast. We got a lot of work to do. So once we make that decision based off of the severity, right, based off of that category of a storm, logistically, what we're doing internally is we're looking at some of those heavy movers, the generators, the waters, the other essential items, and we lock that inventory down. And what I mean by that is we lock it down within our distribution centers so that we can then move that product to where that hurricane is going to actually hit, or where it's going to have the impacted area. That way we don't make any guesses along the way, right? Because we've all seen where the news could, say it's going to hit Florida and it ends up hitting North Carolina, or vice versa in some cases. And so it's one of those things that we've learned over the years. And so we just say generators, water, all of those essential items, we're going to lock it down. And as soon as we know where that hurricane's going to hit, we're going to start moving it closer and closer and closer to stage for the local team. So that's part of the logistics side of things. Again, do we get it right all the time? No, we don't. But what we're trying to do is make it as easy as possible for Luke and others in the organization like Luke to be able to have that inventory for their customers.
You mentioned getting it right every time. I think you're not giving yourself enough credit to an extent that it's not sitting in California. It's on the correct coast.
Yeah, it's not sitting in California. We typically have these on the East Coast, and Luke mentioned, one of our distribution managers, Bobby, and at the end of the day, we've got great hub managers that are all participating in this. They're all part of the team, and so that kind of goes to where getting the experts involved. I'm not an expert in logistics and Fastenal. That's not where my expertise is. But we know we have to connect those dots internally to make it happen.
Cool. Okay. Let's shift to the end game here, gentlemen. This is for both or either of you. Post-disaster debriefing. I feel like this is really important, but I'm just a guy. How important is it? And what should people be thinking or asking at that stage? Kevin, I feel like you're going to take this
Sure.
one first.
Yeah, I'll jump in. It's extremely important. It's I mean, we've gone through some major disasters over the years. We've been through a pandemic. We've been through lots of different things that require all of the same preparation, all of the same movement of product, and making sure that we have a plan. And the reality is that we learn something different after every one. We learn how to be better. We learn how to support the field better. And if you're not debriefing, if you're not going back and looking at the things that either went wrong or went right, then you're never learning. And so as far as an action item from this meeting, that's one of the most important parts, because you're not going to get everything right, and you shouldn't even try to get everything right, but you should look back and determine what we could be doing better.
Luke, anything you want to add?
Yeah, no, Kevin hit it on the head. I mean, it's just super important to that debriefing process. And he heard me say this to the group one time. Getting out of this, it wasn't perfect. It changed daily, but I hope for the next situation that happens, that we're better. And so I know that we're going to be better locally, and hopefully for the betterment of our customers, Fastenal, that's going to be better next time. So, but nothing more to add than that, Curt.
I feel like, again, it's worth mentioning that as an organization, we've had the opportunity is the wrong word, but it's the only one in my brain, to respond to a number of disasters of different types, hurricanes, tornadoes, fires. We each time do this debrief and we say what's happening at the different stages of a disaster. And there's a couple of reasons to do it. Kevin, you can jump in if I'm missing anything, but I think you're asking, we need to talk about how to frame what products are needed at what phase.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then, okay, good. And then
yeah, that's a great point. I'm sorry, that's a great point, Curt, because there's a big difference between the preparation and then the recovery. And from not only product lines, but the way we're speaking with our customers and helping our customers, it is different. And again, that's why we're here to help support all of our customers and the field, because those needs are different. And that's something that we learned along the way, right? Like we thought that we needed generators and water. But then what we didn't realize is we also needed chainsaws and cleanup material and everything else after the fact. So, yeah, there's different needs during different stages of disasters for sure.
I think there's even like an add-on effect where you mentioned the chainsaws. Well, what if we don't have chainsaw oil?
Right.
You have to keep going down. Otherwise, you've given somebody like a generator that isn't going to create any power. Well, oh my gosh, you guys, what are we going to do here?
Or one of my favorites is we brought in a lot of electric chainsaws. We're like, well, that's not going to work. That was years ago, though.
Good. Yeah, that's like the overarching theme that I wanted to make sure we touched on a little bit. Every organization is going to have trouble with every single instance, but then you learn from each one, and then luckily you have new trouble in the future, and you can learn from that new trouble. So each time you get better. Yep. I was going to do a couple of questions because I think we kind of talked about this in our prep call. When you're in a post-disaster recap meeting, what went wrong, what went right, the types of questions that I think, Kevin, you had given me this list before. So if you have anything to add, or if you say I'm saying something wrong, just let me know. As an organization, you can say, what did we do right? What did we do wrong? What did we not think about? And what was a surprise? Is there anything else people should be asking, or is that a pretty good starting point?
I think that's a pretty good starting point to reflect back on, and really have that kind of post-disaster, post-event debriefing. Those are good starting questions.
Okay. I think we are to the Q&A. I haven't seen it buzzing, so I'm assuming we only have the pre-submitted stuff. Okay, we've only got the stuff from social media to get through, guys, so I think we're going to be good here. First question says, what's the timeline on this type of disaster response? How quickly do things happen? Luke, that's got to be you.
It's immediately. It's you're immediately in a reactionary form. So those steps that you're getting ready to take all kind of revolves around that. So, as soon as you're able to get, yourself together and kind of understanding like what the landscape is, what the situation, you immediately start planning on how you're moving forward. How are you helping people? How are you helping each other? So I would say that answer is very open-ended simply because that starts immediately. And then each step you take, you try to make the right decisions and where to deploy the right different supplies, etc.
Okay. Is it worth taking a minute to say, like, here's a list of all the things that I think I have to do, or at least my top 10, but my actual priority is these three? Is that like an even better way to, like, I mean, I'm spitballing here, but
Yeah, and each, like Kevin said, each situation is different. Obviously,
exactly.
human life is like, excuse me, is like one of the number one things. And then you're looking at, all right, what is the need? And I would encourage people, don't be afraid to raise your hand, don't be afraid to ask for help, because those needs change daily. The reactionary nature of a situation like this is it changes, and that's what's very surprising for me. You're not going to have a perfect plan, so don't be afraid to keep your mind open, your eyes open, and figure out what those needs are, because it can change hourly. You had asked me, Kurt, like what would Fastenal look like? We work seven days a week, probably 16, 17 hours a day. You're laying in bed. So Fastenal was open 24/7 there for a little bit, and it was a very challenging but also a very rewarding situation. So again, you're there till you're not, and that was kind of the way we looked at it.
It's crazy. Yeah. You're 24/7, you're working almost nonstop or to the, edges of what you can maintain. Okay. The next one, the last one that I think I have here is any advice on how to get buy-in within my own company for things we need to purchase?
Yeah.
Kevin?
Yeah. I think the advice, maybe not going down the path of things to purchase necessarily, like an actual list of products to say, because we do have some good information on that out there. But what I would say from a advice standpoint is work with leadership on granting ownership on some of these decisions that need to be made quickly. If when a disaster happens, whether it's the preparation for or the recovery of, you need a group that's able to make decisions quickly. And if every time that a decision needs to be made, you need to go up the flagpole with that decision, you're wasting so much time for the people who actually need the product or whatever service of the delivery. So granting that ownership of the decision making is a critical step in all of this.
I feel like that's Luke, you were saying this before. I'm going to paraphrase it. You can then tell me how I either butchered it or did get it right. The idea of having a perfect plan is a falsehood in the first place.
Right.
Don't try to over plan. Don't try to over analyze the situation. Start taking actions that are positive. Is that a good condensation of it?
Yes, yeah, common sense. You will make those educated, common sense decisions, and I think you can. That's a great start.
Okay. We're just about done here, but we did have a internal question come in saying that, Luke, do you work in your hometown? And then they were asking if they can do anything to help out within their departments. So final question, Luke, where are you working?
Right. No, I'm actually in Asheville, North Carolina. My hometown is Burnsville. Burnsville was where I camped at whenever the hurricane happened. That's where my family is. So I'm pretty fortunate. I'm only about an hour from there. So, but yeah, I work in Asheville currently.
Okay. Everybody, we made it. Feel free to add us on LinkedIn or just message us if you have any questions. You can, of course, get to us. We can just do the Blue Team Responds email, right?
That's correct.
I'll drop it in here. blueteamresponds@fastenal.com. Thanks for your time today, everybody. Take care.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.